and so it covers the face and does everything. So that's why I've got that on. I just slip it down when I'm not wearing it. So I just reached into the gear room and grabbed this a few days ago and decided it was a lot of fun. When we get started, I'd like to show a first slide here that I'd like to just kind of recognize the members of the Office of Public Information for the City of Birmingham. If we could take a look at that, and I'll go on if we don't have that up. There you go. This is actually not the complete team, but you have Edward Bowser, who many of you may know, who is his title is Senior Storyteller. He's our words guy. He's also our social media guy. We have Mallory George, who works our front desk. Shonda Temple, decked out in her mask today, who is the public information officer that many of you know. Marcus Watts is one of our two graphic designers. Bree Rudolph did not want to share a picture today. She said, I'm at home and I'm not going to give you a selfie. Sam South is our OPI project manager. And then Daniel Roth is in the picture that you see with the mayor, is our visual content producer. So he's our videographer, a photographer. He handles a lot of stuff, and he has just been amazing going through this process on our tech team. So this kind of gives you an idea of who our team is and what we do. With that, I want to take you to this next slide, which there's a reason, and I don't know if any of you have read this. It's a great story. Actually, it's not this. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. I think I dropped one of the pieces out of there. So what I was going to reference, and it's a great story, and I urge you to look at if you have not seen this story. Wired Magazine has done a story called March 11th, the day that changed the world. On that particular day, the NCAA announced it would play its basketball tournament without fans. Within hours of each other, President Trump gave an Oval Office address. There was announcing a travel ban from Europe. The NBA suspended the season after he found out that Rudy Gobert tested positive for the virus. And Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson posted on Instagram that they had been diagnosed while in Australia and were recuperating from coronavirus. That all happened on March 11th. It's a fascinating kind of TikTok read for you on Wired if you Google it and look at it, because it really lays out, you know, in one day, it really just shifted everything for us in the direction we were going. I make reference to that because this is the list of things starting on March 12th. After that, what has happened as far as with City Hall and with our state government over that period of time. On March 12th, the mayor issued a state of emergency. We also, at that point, and my memory fails me, but I believe at that point we announced gatherings of no more than 250 based on advice from the health department. The Jefferson County Health Department issued an order through Dr. Mark Wilson in the coming days. The city approved the shelter-in-place ordinance immediately afterwards that mimicked what the Dr. Wilson had announced and put it into to city as a city ordinance. The city extended the shelter-in-place ordinance on April 3rd to go through the 30th. The governor and the Alabama Department of Public Health issued their statewide stay-at-home order later that same day that would go through the 30th. Yesterday, the city approved the face covering ordinance, and the governor and the Alabama Department of Public Health shifted their order from stay-at-home to safer at home, which is going to kick in at 5:01 p.m. tomorrow. So in that short period of time, some very amazing and some very unprecedented and just fast-paced things have taken part that we have all experienced in one form or another. So with all of that, I wanted to kind of shift from there because we've learned a lot about all of this as we've moved through it, and I know we'll learn more. So that's why I want to shift these lessons learned on the ground as far as communications goes during COVID-19. If we can go to the next slide, some of the things that we have touched on, and we've talked a little bit about this from the Office of Public Information's perspective. We look at this and say we were built for this, and when I say that statement, I mean it in that this team I came in with the mayor's office about a month after he took office. Shonda Temple and I were the first 2 members of the team on the communications side. Within a couple of months, and I tell this story often, within a couple of months, it was drinking from a fire hose for those first 2 months, and we knew what we wanted to do, but the bandwidth was just not there. And one day, and I always credit the mayor with this story. One day, he asked us to put something to do a communications project. And we said, we're working on it, sir. We'll see if we can get it done by today. The question was, we've heard you say that before, that we're not really getting stuff out quite to the speed that we were hoping you would be able to. Why? And we explained it was a bandwidth issue. To the great, and I always say the strongest communications asset we have as a city is Mayor Randall Woodfin. He's a brilliant communicator, and he understands the importance of communication. To a credit to his wisdom and his vision, when I told him bandwidth was an issue, he said, this, meaning basically the plans that we have as administration, doesn't work unless the communications piece works. He said, go out and find your team and build the team that you need, and do it this week. It was a moment that I always reflect back on. We went out immediately. We identified what we needed, what would be the ideal communications team for us, within what we could do. And we built the team that I shared with you just a few moments ago. From that, we have looked at this and said, when this crisis hit us, we were built for this because we had all the pieces together. We had the equipment together. We had the know-how together to respond fairly quickly. We were better to be prepared. We learned immediately, and we've seen this with some of our peer groups and other government agencies in other areas. One of the key lessons I've kind of passed along to folks is it's better to be prepared before a crisis rather than having to do it during a crisis. The equipment that we had purchased to address issues like live streaming and a number of other things where we could produce our own programs, that ended up being so valuable for us. We were one of the first. I think we were tied with UAB. We both did it independently, but found ourselves doing it at the same time. After that March 11th, when everything started moving so quickly, I was watching one of the White House news conferences on that Saturday, and I noticed, like I had seen with our news conference on that Thursday, that anytime you've been involved in a news conference and you have all the media there, all the photographers are clumped together, reporters are clumped together with their photographers, and all the members of the people taking part in the news conference are all kind of standing shoulder to shoulder, side by side. I started thinking about that and saying, if we're going to shift into a conversation of 6 feet social distancing, we're not really reflecting that both with the media that we bring in and with the visual image that we're putting out there. So we reached out to the local media, and I said, what if we created a situation where we could virtually, we could provide a live stream, and you could call in and you can ask your questions, but you're in a safe space. You don't have to, put your people in a different environment than they're not used to, and it protects us as well. All the broadcast organizations signed off and thought it was a great idea, as long as they could get their questions and answers taking place in real time. So we did that on that following Monday, and looked up and saw that UAB was doing the exact same thing. So we have basically implemented that, advised other operations on how they can do it, and assisted other operations in doing those virtual news conferences or virtual, those live streams when they need to get out to their stakeholders or to a large number of people. So that was all because we had set it up in the past. A lot of people have asked us now, tell us everything you have. When this is over with, we want to stock up and try to be able to address this the way you have. So again, that lesson that we learned is it's better to be prepared before crisis rather than during a crisis. With what we observed from in the past when we have live streamed events like town halls and a variety of other things, we've always kind of said, how can we better do it? So best practices were in place when this happened. We've continued to tweak all of that. but it's a very powerful tool for any communication shop to have those best practices. What works best, how can we do it, what can we improve on? So we've learned that we were built for this, and preparedness is key in a situation when you run into a crisis like this. If we can go on to the next slide, talking a little bit about what our needs are. Lessons learned from this is to listen to your audience. Immediately, we knew that there was lots of concern, there was lots of doubt, there was lots of questions. I think we have all learned this. We immediately decided to go into information mode, look at what matters most to the audience at this time. They wanted to know, are we safe? What's going to happen? What do we need to do as a resident, as a citizen of Birmingham to address this? So we listened to our audience through our social channels, the email, the phone calls. I also took advantage of all the years that I was in TV and reached out to a couple of news directors in the market that I've got a pretty close relationship with, just to get an idea of what they were doing. Now, this is something just to pass along to all of you. You may find this interesting. Television viewing, local TV viewing right now is basically, you're getting upwards to 30% increase in the March period and April period over this time last year. The viewership is enormous right now for local TV because people want to know what's happening in their community dealing with this. The other thing that we've noticed that I'll just pass along to you, if you haven't already, and if you are doing advertising, and if you already know the situation, but just for others, there's a lot of inventory out there right now. We were able to work a great relationship with all the broadcast stations in town to do a PSA. We've been so thankful and so appreciative of of where they're putting us on a daily basis, that we're getting some prime real estate in some of our PSA locations. So I'm very, very thankful, and I want to recognize the broadcast community in the city for being true leaders with all of this. One of the things that I've enjoyed is seeing some of the PSAs they have done about supporting local businesses, food bank, all of the other things. And so I just want to praise them in this particular conversation. But when I was talking to the news directors and they were talking about the growth of their audience, I said, what kind of research are you receiving from your consultants? And they said that this is nationwide, that there were two things that they were focused on, and it kind of tied into my gut feeling that we wanted to focus on, heavy focus on information. But people want information and they want inspiration. Most important thing is they want that information, but they also want those inspirational pieces, those motivational pieces that make them realize that we're all in this together, that we're teamed up together. So those were a couple of things that we noticed. Now, from that, as this was happening, and I would love to say we claimed it, but we did this, but we basically tied on to it. Our Economic Development Office, the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity, led by Dr. Josh Carpenter, they were putting together a public-private partnership to deal with issues that were going to be developing and popping up throughout the city during this. The first thing was to create relief for small businesses and put together some funds before the federal government was able to act, to have some local funds that were available to support small businesses where they could get quick 0% interest loans while they were waiting for the larger dollars to come from the feds. The other piece is to look at creating a database to identify what the need was with unemployment out there. Now, all of those things that they've been doing, and Birmingham Strong is still going strong, but they came up with the name BHAM Strong, and they said, why don't we do it as a hashtag BHAM Strong, which we quickly grabbed onto, and has been a common theme throughout all of this. So I do want to mention that was a key part in our strategy when we saw that, say, let's make that a brand that we're using across the board. A next lesson that was learned beyond the preparedness piece and listen to your audience, our next area is be flexible. And I'll be really quickly with this one. If we can go on to the next slide, and I believe we have a link. No, it's not. It's the next one that we have a link, but this is fine. Communications lessons learned is be flexible. Shelter in place ordinance. led us to a place where we couldn't do town halls. We didn't have large numbers of people in the council meetings. Neighborhood associations, where we got a lot of our information on the ground, suddenly we're not meeting. So what are we going to do here? It all started with an idea that we had. Why don't we do a conference call with as many pastors as we can get on? Let's talk to our faith leaders before that first Sunday when the shelter in place went into place. Talk as many faith leaders as we can and urge them to find alternatives to having church services where everybody's gathered. The mayor's greatest concern then and to this day is making sure that our oldest population, those 60 and above who are at a higher risk of complications from COVID-19, that they would be in a place where that they would be protected, that there would be encouragement that you can participate in the services, but you don't have to be physically there. So we set up a conference call. We had a line set up where we could have 100 people on the line. We had pastors on who were able to ask some questions. The mayor talked with them for roughly an hour. When we got off, we said, we got to do a better system than this. So our chief strategist, Ed Fields, who many of you may know, started looking around at the opportunities with teletown halls. Since we put those teletown halls in place, we have done 12 calls, very, very specific groups that we have that we have reached in the 7-week period, total of about 15,000. We're going to have another one at 2 p.m. today. And that's going to be a fairly large, and we expect about 2,000-3,000 people on that. That's going to be city employees. That's going to be neighborhood association leadership and folks active in their neighborhoods, and it's going to be faith leaders. So we're going to combine all of them on this call today. When I talk about be flexible, as well, one of the things that popped up out of this, we also identified partners who have audiences that we could tap into. So we reached out to many, many people who are aligned with us in one form or another and said, help us get our messages out, whatever those messages were on a given day. It turned into one day playing off the idea of the teletown halls, using other folks to reach our audiences. The mayor kept on saying in a lot of news conferences, I encourage folks to be a good neighbor, to reach out to people in your community, older folks in particular, see how they're doing. So with that, the idea came up, why don't we do a video that's simply called House Calls with Woodfin? And so the mayor spent a day making phone calls to a list of people, mostly older adults over 60, just to check and see how they were doing. At that point, they recorded the calls. We put it up on social media, and it just took off. Local media jumped on it, but we had media around the country taking it from their affiliates here in Birmingham, taking it around the country and running that story. It just took off, and it proved very, very popular. So the house calls was something we said, okay, we're going to do this from time to time, just to let folks know that the mayor's paying attention. He wants to hear from you. He cares, and we want to see how you're doing. From that, we jumped into another idea that Chief Fields, our senior strategist, our chief strategist offered. And this idea was, why don't we pair the mayor with one of the people he works closely with, and that happens to be radio personality and comedian Ricky Smiley. So we did a series of calls with Mayor Woodfin and a surprise guest of Ricky Smiley. See if we have that. Do we have that queued up on the YouTube that we can play that? Stand by. I think we may have it. The link wasn't attached to my PowerPoint, so we said we're going to pull it up with YouTube. So bear with us for 1 second. Here we go.
Yep, we've got a screen that's just disappeared, but just a moment.
Okay, hold 1 second. We'll have this video. To play on the whole thing of be flexible, I had this PowerPoint and everything set up on my laptop, but I could not tie in for some reason from my laptop, so I'm on my phone. So thanks for the tech support on this. Well, I'll tell you, I'll keep on talking while you're doing it. I'll just stop when I see it pop up on the screen, because this leads to another video that we have as well. So we'll see if we can run both of those back to back. The other thing that we did, one of the other things that we've learned, and one of the things that we've been more comfortable with doing is I stress to everybody, information is the most important thing we can do right now. Straight, serious, just straightforward information to let people, equip people with the knowledge that they need. But the thing that we also kind of kept on saying, and the mayor was one who said, I want folks to be comfortable. Let's provide some levity here as well. So one of the other things we did was be comfortable and share your personality. And so we have done a variety of things just addressing some of the common issues. I think okay, here we go. We're going to go with the house calls. Somebody weigh in. I'm not hearing any audio. Do we have anything? What I'll do, since we're having trouble with that one, I'll tell you what, try to go to the next video link that I shared with you, and let's see if that one works. If it doesn't, shameless plug, you can go to the City of Birmingham's YouTube page, or you can go to the City of Birmingham's Facebook page and take a look at those both of those videos there, just to get an idea. We've had some fun during this time, and those were probably two of our more popular ones as far as providing stuff. It was a fun way of us providing information while also providing a little chuckle for folks. So I think we're going to see. Let's see if we can get this other YouTube.
We in quarantine. We calling people. We calling everybody in Birmingham.
You know what? I appreciate that call because I needed that one.
How's your day?
It is absolutely.
So that was it. That was a small snippet of the phone call that we did, the house calls with the mayor and with Ricky Smiley. If we can get this video, we'll try to get this other video up, and then I'm going to kind of wrap up. And if there's anybody who has questions, feel free to chime in on them. Are we able to get that other video? Is it looking like it's working, or is it acting up?
We're getting a Caperton Zoom just crashed. She's sending me the link.
I got you. Okay,
we can tag team this.
Okay, well, you just weigh in, Dave, and I'll finish up. But just the closing thoughts that just kind of some of the closing thoughts, and then I would love if anybody has any questions to talk a little bit about what the city's position on issues. If you have any questions about the face coverings, if you have any questions about business community and some of the activities that we're taking right now, we'll be happy to answer those questions. But the bottom line is, on closing thoughts is, I just urge folks, stay focused in your communication strategies, be able to address the changing needs as they develop. I know we all have been learning from this and all been moving on this. And we appreciate everybody who has chipped in. David's pulling up. Okay, so we got house calls. Let's see if we can get that other one, if you got that other link.
This is Randall Woodfin.
How you doing, Mr. Woodman?
Good. How are
I'm
you?
getting the house calls now.
I am good. Working.
I got a surprise guest on the phone for you.
You got a surprise on the phone?
Yeah.
Professional and grown. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miss Amanda.
Yes.
This is Ricky Smiley.
How you doing, Ricky?
We ain't got nothing to do. We in quarantine. We calling people. We calling everybody in Birmingham.
You know what? I appreciate that call because I needed that one.
How's your day?
It is absolutely great.
Well,
Miss Katrina.
hello.
Hey, this is Randall Woodfin.
Hi.
Let me know when
How you
you're ready
doing?
for the next video.
I'm doing good.
Hey, David, let's try to go on to the next video, and I'll give a little
Okay.
setup.
Surprise guest on the phone for you.
Okay.
Sitting up there talking about like she excited. No, she voted for William Bell. This Ricky Smiley.
Oh my goodness.
Man, my scalp out here looking like a field of dreams. If you build it, it will come. My barber won't come through though. I'm just gonna give myself a lineup. I can do it. Nah, mess around and my line look like a fake Gordon Gartrell. Listen, my beard game about to be on that Dumbledore. Corona about to have us all going natural, whether we want it or not. Hashtag save the barbers, bruh. Man, I hate you, Rona. The social distancing is real. Guess I'll have to keep looking a fool for a while.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, David. So that was one of the videos where we were all sitting around one day just talking about how much we want a haircut, and the idea popped up. Let's kind of have fun with it. Let's send a stay-at-home message. But you know, the mayor was a good sport and said, sure, let's talk about it, because we had all talked about our own haircuts we were trying to do ourselves or whatever. So that one ended up proving very popular, popping up a lot of different places as well. But the bottom line is, even with showing our personality, we were tying back into the messages, the important messages we have. So that is essentially, I've been talking for a little over 30 minutes now, so I don't want to bore you with talking forever. But if anybody does have any questions, Dave, if you want to get us started with anything, feel free. And I'll keep an eye on there as well to see if anybody's got some questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of, with, politics aside, I think, one of the things that we want to know is how you are, how you're, kind of your plans for keeping kind of the energy and the positivity up in the city, because I know that, like, within my company and the people that we work for, it's like we hit week 6 and it sucked. And so just, kind of you guys being the face and the voice, kind of, look a few weeks down the road of how you're going to, keep the positive message going.
And I think that's a good point. I think we all are doing that in some form or fashion. I think every communicator on this line, every marketer on this line, there are ways that we're trying to do it. I point to what some of the local TV is doing with folks not being able to do huge ad budgets right now, but at the same time, they're creating opportunities where they bring some of their folks in to provide motivational messages and reassure folks we're going to be here when we're able to reopen. For us, it's really been a team atmosphere. We've really leaned on each other. We've got a great leadership team, and the mayor and the chief of staff, chief of operations, and chief strategist. And so one of the things that we have tried to do on an internal platform is to monitor how our own morale is, try to monitor how the morale, one of the things that I think people may not realize it. I know Jefferson County closed the courthouse down early on. We made a conscious decision to keep the city hall open for basic services. But we have very few people who come in, but we still have a lot of folks who come in for permits, for business licenses if they can't do it online, and for a variety of other things. So what we have tried to do, just to put encouraging messages up in signage, in various forms. One of the things we did a few weeks back, we drove by and saw St. Vincent's had a sign up that said "Heroes work here," and somebody mentioned it. We thought it was a great idea, so we printed up signage with our print shop that we have at City Hall, and did played off the line of public service, and just did the signage that said "Heroes serve here." We put them up at every one of our fire departments, our police precincts, police headquarters, all of our Department of Public Works outlying stations, and papered the entry of our 911 and 311, just to let them know that we appreciate them, and we know that what they are doing is essential and very, very valued at this time. for a lot of our employees that still were coming in the building who worked with the cashiers or had to do basic payroll functions or something. We created signage that said you're making a difference. Thank you for your service, and we filled those up throughout the building as well, just to make sure people know we appreciate them. And externally, I think it goes back to some of the videos like what we did with Mayor Woodfin on the haircut. I think there's going to be I think it's safe to predict that we're going to have some kind of face covering video with him, just kind of showing the variety of options, because we're seeing, and again, it goes to responding to a basic information need. Lots of people are still asking, what if I don't have a mask? Where do I get one? What do I do? We've tried to insist to folks, you don't have to have a mask. We're not requiring people to spend money on this. Any household object, whether it's a bandana, whether it's a scarf, a T-shirt that you can pull, you can wrap around your face, even or go to the many ways of making a homemade mask that CDC and others have put out there. So we're going to probably do something along those lines in the next 24 hours, just to share that with folks as well, and ask the mayor to show how to make a mask, and also some of the face covering options that are out there as well. So that's one of the things. The biggest challenge, and I would say show of hands if we were all in a room, but there are some Monday mornings when I've had a quiet weekend when I'm like, gosh, I don't want to go to work. And I'm sure a lot of us have had that same feeling, because there's just been such a run on things, and such a fast pace that we're all dealing with right now. Did that answer your question? I know I rambled a bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's good, because I know that one of the things that, that I hear a lot and have been, reading is you see everyone posting about personal care and taking care of yourself and those around you. So being able to talk about, how you keep morale and connection up within the city, its departments, I mean, that's important.
Yeah, and it's the other thing that we found is we've tried. If you've ever listened to an interview with the mayor, at some point you probably will hear something along the lines of over communicate, and that's something he pushes on a lot. Is over communicating with the public, with our employees. Make sure that they get all the questions answered that they have. So we've tried to do that. We've created birminghamal.gov/coronavirus for the public. We put as new issues happen, or as new announcements are made from a state and from the local level, we put them there where it's a resource, where we have a place where it lives, where we can push it out on all of our social channels, our email, and all of that. We also have birminghamal.gov/COVID policy, which is a place where basically any communication that we're sending with employees about this situation or resources for them, we fill that up there. And we want to be transparent about that, so everybody knows that what we are doing and how we are communicating with our employees as well as the public. So yeah, that's a challenge that's a challenge we all have, and we're all trying to find different ways. I'll tell you, one of the things that we noticed, and it's still a relatively small number, but it's been a success, and that it showed us what we can do. We created early on, trying to just find new channels, trying to find new ways to communicate with folks. We use a system that we partner with the EMA on. It's called Everbridge, and it's an opt-in text message system. So if any of you ever receive the weather alerts from EMA about severe weather, tornado, there is a civilian side of that. There is a side that's non-emergency, where you can use it for events and such. So it's called Everbridge. We decided on the weekend, when people started really paying attention, we created the keyword BHM COVID. And then we created a second keyword, BHM COVID-19. That was for Spanish-speaking audience. And with the BHM COVID, within the first couple of days, just primarily pushing it on social media, but primarily on local TV, we grew to about 15,000 just in an overnight period of sign-ins. That's a fairly significant number. We're working to grow it. It usually grows by about 30 to 60 people a day. And it's a place where we can send out immediate messages. We're going to put a lot of stuff out about face coverings today and tomorrow, just to educate the public. But it's also a place where we can remind folks that there's a food drive being run by the Birmingham Police Department, or a link to the PPP loans through the SBA and the federal government, or what Birmingham Strong is doing. So we're looking and just kind of grabbing any audience that we have, any way we can create a new audience, just to have another tool to send messages out.
Nice.
So, you know, it's one of those things. It's been exciting to see how people respond to it. We did a survey just from both a LinkedIn town hall and from one of our teletown halls, just asking how people are receiving news about the city, information about the city, and the usual stuff in there with local TV news. Our e-newsletter, our social media was there, but there was a significant number who had said that text message system was the way they were gathering information, which was very encouraging to us, to see that people are relying on that. So it's just one of those things we're all identifying new ways of getting the message out.
Yeah. And then I'm going to put you on the spot for just a quick second. I know that, no, not in a bad way. I mean, you get to see a lot of the, what's happening in the city, 24/7, 365. Do you have a favorite story of something really good that's happened in the last 6 weeks? A random act of kindness, just something that's made you kind of sit back and go, damn.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably, when you said that, I started thinking of a variety of things. I'll just tell, it was just a personal point that meant a lot to me, is when we started putting the banners up that Heroes Serve Here. I hand delivered. We're being very, while the city hall is open, we're also very conscious that we don't want to roam around in other people's workspaces a lot, just because we're not there on a regular basis. We're introducing a whole new group of germs possibly. So I walked down and rang the doorbell for 911. I got a couple I'll share, but I rang the doorbell for 911 and asked them to come up, that I had something, and I gave them the posters that said Heroes Serve Here. And I said, would you just put these up? And the supervisor who came, she smiled and said, this is going to create a lot of smiles today. It made me feel good that I felt like I was making a difference for our coworkers, or lightening their load a little bit. I think, the generosity that we're seeing from so many people. There's a variety of stories. I'll use one of the examples that happened just 2 days ago. We had a Birmingham police officer who coordinated with a group that was making masks, and he let the chief know, I'd like to distribute these on my own time. And BPD said, well, heck, we're going to help you. So they set up in Lynn Park 2 days ago with boxes of homemade masks. They set up in Lynn Park particularly to reach out to the homeless community and share them with the homeless community. But they also had a lot of residents pull up. And just small things like that are just showing the spirit that we have as a city, and the spirit that the people have. When I drive home, I drive home every day on 20th Street. And I never get used to the fact that it's so empty downtown. It's just a strange time, and driving home, I always just observe it and think about it when I'm driving home. But I always have a smile when I drive by Zydeco, because they've got the sign that says "Party on Hiatus," and I just love that sign. I think it's a great sign, and I think the signs, and I think the public gestures that people are showing that we're, there was the one last one I'll mention, and this is just very, very small things, just an observation nobody else would have seen. The mayor was doing a live interview in front of City Hall at about, I guess it would have been about 6:30 a couple of weeks ago. And we were all on standby, and we were waiting for that to start. And a jogger just came by, a runner came by across the street, and he glanced over and he saw he saw, he obviously recognized the mayor, and he just, as he was running, he just raised his fist up and said, keeping Birmingham strong. And that meant a lot to me. It gets me right now, because I think we care for our home, and it's just a time where we just got to keep the spirit up for each other.
That's awesome. I mean, that's true. I mean, that's the, I know that, with all of us, working with our clients and in the communities, I mean, that's the thing, is looking for ways to make a difference. And then also, hoping that as we look towards that new normal, how we as a community can keep that spirit of unity and keep that spirit of, Birmingham strong. Rick, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule.
Hey, Dave, let me say one thing. If anybody, because we have received a lot of calls, and it just dawned on me, I wanted to mention this. If anybody has any questions about your business, if you're based in the city, or if you come in and out of the city with employees or something along those lines, and you have any questions about the face covering ordinance, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or reach out to the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. My email is rick.journey@birminghamal.gov, and my mobile phone is 205-478-4927. If I don't answer on first call, just leave a message and I will follow up with you, or I'll get somebody to follow up with you. But we understand, we're trying to stress to everybody, businesses are not required to provide masks. It's a personal responsibility. It doesn't need, you don't have to go out and purchase something. There's plenty of ways you can do it with things that are in your home. And if there's any businesses or any organizations on this line that just wants to have some clarification about when it goes into place on Friday, don't hesitate to reach out. You can also utilize the resources on birminghamal.gov/coronavirus, where we have an FAQ and the actual ordinance there too. So I just wanted to mention that really quick. So that's going to be a new shift in policy for all of us in the next couple of days.
Awesome. Again, we appreciate your time. Thank you for all that you're doing, and the mayor, your staff and team. And just before we sign off, we did have a Roku to give away courtesy of Hulu, and the individual who won that is Lee Green. So Lee, if you would just reach out to info@aafbirmingham.com, we'll find a way to get that to you via snail mail. And again, Rick, we appreciate you joining us. Wet your whistle, and we'll see you at a luncheon soon. Awesome. Everyone, thanks so much for attending. Y'all stay safe, and again, BM strong. It's always fun to see people leaving meetings.
What about those who just stay on?
I know, that's kind of, that could be fun. We'll have an official after party.
Yeah, I don't know who's bringing the drinks or anything else, but sign us up.
Exactly, I know. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, that was
having us. That was
welcome
great.
to the official after party.
And I got to tell you, we're doing the best we can. I'm really digging the AAF meetings, and I appreciate y'all putting those together in the speakers. It feels good just knowing that everybody is still there. You know what I mean? And just being able to connect and say, oh, Caperton's there, and just see your friends and know that, nobody went away. It's real cool. I appreciate y'all doing this.
Thank you. We've, we tried to get, creative and keep it fun. We enjoyed the panel that we had last month, and, don't know what next month holds, but if you've got any, thoughts, ideas, throw it out there, because, even, with, trying to do the happy hour, just trying to keep energy and just trying to keep community going. I think that's been the, even, those of us that work for larger companies, it's like I'm, here home. You know, it's like, so
Yeah.
Zoom or text or some kind of chat feature is like my, it's my contact with the outside world.
Yeah, it's still very necessary, even though we're all max headroom robot heads right now. I'm cool with that. I'll deal with that later. I'm just happy to see faces.
Exactly. I know how that is.
And we do have drinks at happy hour. Our May happy hour is going to be dirty martinis, just so you know, if drinks are your thing.
So so there'll be a theme there, maybe little James Bond, who knows?
I like the theme. You know what's fun? Dressing up for a party for no reason, especially dressing up for a party that you're the only physical participant at, but everyone else is there dressed as a James Bond. I like that. Why the hell not?
Exactly. Exactly. We may put you on the party planning committee.
I'll wear a hat. I'll have a noisemaker. I'll bang on the piano or something. Yeah, we'll do something.
Well, it's important to remember how to put on pants. Like at some point, we're all going to have to put on pants again. So putting on clothes is a good practice for that.
And they might have drawstrings at first, and that's okay. You know, that's fine. Work with what you got till it stops working for you.
Yeah. Somebody was kicking this video around Facebook yesterday. I don't know who this family is, the Holder something family. I don't know. Huh? I don't know who they are, but there was this, I found on YouTube, and somebody had put it on Facebook, and there was like a businesswoman who was like trying to coach herself to get ready to go back to work. And her current self was just like, nah, not doing it. Just like, and they're like, now practice being in a meeting. And she's like shoving her face, and she's like, no, I'm off camera. No, you're not. You're right. It was really pretty darn creative.
The very first Zoom meeting I ever did was a few years ago, and I was on a voice actor panel and answering questions and doing stuff. And right as we had logged on, moderator had gone over the the sharing screen feature and said, because some people have shared their screen not supposed to before, and we all said, oh, okay, thanks for letting us know. And then it went to the first speaker, who was this gentleman, and he was saying, well,